We are ready to begin our program. I want to welcome all of you here today. Thanks for coming out. We are here to celebrate the 100th anniversary of the Hotel Jamestown. It was 100 years ago, this New Year's Eve, that the Hotel Jamestown opened for business. And it was right here in this room, in the Crystal Ballroom, that so many events worth remembering and celebrating happened. Some of them you can see pictured in the photos that have been reproduced here. I want to introduce Dennis Webster, who probably needs no introduction. Even if you've never met Dennis, you'll recognize his voice. He is recently retired from WJTN. He is, in my opinion, a local celebrity, much loved and whose radio presence is very much missed. I have tremendous admiration for Dennis and his unique contribution to our community. As we were gathering pictures to display for today, some of them came from the WJTN studio, and there was one picture of Dennis that I was so tempted to blow up as well and bring here. It's Dennis back in the mid-70s, maybe. He looked a bit like a beatnik. Yeah, it was a great picture. So, Dennis will be sharing the stories of both the Hotel Jamestown and WJTN. Would you please give a warm welcome to Dennis?
First, thank you to the organizing committee and the Jamestown Housing Authority for holding this event and inviting me here to speak today. I want to convey to you how exciting it was. 800 people all in the same room. This room. December 31st, 1924, in an atmosphere of high festivity. Dinner was served. The orchestra was warming up the audience to dance. Organizers attributed the large attendance in part to the promise of no extended speech-making. They were all here to welcome the year 1925 and to welcome the brand new, shiny Hotel Jamestown. For 4 decades or so prior to 1924, this corner of 3rd and Cherry had been the location of Jamestown's first Presbyterian church. The idea to build a hotel on this site came from Frank O. Anderson, an enterprising immigrant from Sweden. In the matter of 2 years and several months, he gathered enough support and money from people in the Jamestown community to get the church torn down and the hotel built at the cost of about $1.5 million. And what a grand hotel it was. Built in the Beaux Arts style, it was breathtaking to walk into the expansive lobby, measuring 80 by 125 feet. Look down at the black and white Toronto floor, to the side at the marble and imitation travertine walls, and up to the fully open space of the mezzanine overhead. Then climb the stairs, or take one of 4 elevators to the Crystal Ballroom on the 2nd floor. The individual guest rooms were elegant, with marble fixtures and superb decor, worthy of big city hotels. The place hummed. Coffee shop, dining room, newsstand, telegraph office, barber shop, public stenographer, all close at hand, and a lounge with music in the basement. I also want to point out how historic the completion of this building was to the city. As you look across the skyline of Jamestown today, 3 large commercial buildings stand out. The Hotel Samuels building, built in 1912, now Covenant Manor. The Furniture Mart building, built in 1917, and the Hotel Jamestown from 1924. The Hotel Jamestown is the largest of the 3, with 9 or 10 floors, depending on how you count. Nothing of this size and scale has been erected in the century since 1924, and I doubt anything of this scale was attempted in the 100 years before 1924. And how essential the new hotel was. Prior to its completion, Jamestown had only one other first-class 20th century overnight facility, the Hotel Samuels, kitty corner from the site of the Hotel Jamestown. It offered 250 rooms. The Hotel Jamestown would add another 256 to the total. Why would a city of just under 39,000 people need over 500 hotel rooms downtown? The answer was in the woods, sort of. Jamestown had a robust furniture industry, 20-plus plants in the early 1920s. That furniture exposition building hosted twice-a-year shows, spring and fall, and representatives from the local furniture makers and others in the region showed their wares to salesmen, store owners, buyers from all across the nation. Jamestown was said to be second only to Grand Rapids, Michigan, as a furniture capital of America. Prior to the completion of the Hotel Jamestown, many of the attendees at those spring and fall shows had to seek lodging in private homes. And in a way, how clever the design of this Hotel Jamestown was. In addition to the overnight accommodations at the back of the building, there were 100 offices that filled the front part of the hotel from the second floor up, generating revenue when the tourist traffic was slow. And how fleeting it all was. For a time, the Hotel Jamestown was the place for a business meeting, convention, to go out to dinner, to feel as elegant and refined as the place was. Lucille Ball and Desi Arnaz stayed here in 1956 and held many of the events surrounding the world premiere of the movie Forever Darling, right in this building. The Temple Hesed Abraham Sports Banquets had their home here. You'll hear more about those shortly. But the times were changing. The 1960s were hard on the hotel and all of downtown. The furniture shows began to fade. Travelers who might have stayed at a downtown hotel a decade or two before were drawn to motels in the periphery where they could park right in front of their room. No need for an elevator. The once elegant and upscale accommodations here now were seen as impractical, out of style. The offices felt old-fashioned and accessible. The ownership changed hands several times, from local to out of town, then back to local, finally into receivership. On April 1st, 1968, the Hotel Jamestown closed to guests. How empty it was. There was almost never anyone in this room, or the rooms around it, or the whole building. A few retail enterprises remained on the 3rd Street side of the main floor. Some offices upstairs were occupied. The radio station was still on this floor. But mostly, the glorious Hotel Jamestown was vacant. How sad it might have been. The story could have been completely over, save for the efforts of one local man who purchased the nearly empty structure out of bankruptcy with an eye on the future. His name is worthy of mention, Dr. Milton Battler. His son, Bruce Battler, joins us on the panel today. Dr. Battler took 251 of the original hotel rooms and remade them into 104 apartments designed for aging residents of the city with low income. And how unique it was. On Friday, September 26, 1969, Dr. Battler turned the refurbished rooms over to the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to be run by their agent, the brand new Jamestown Housing Authority. It was heralded as a first in the nation public-private partnership. At that time, Dr. Battler maintained ownership and control of the commercial part of the building, while the other part became under HUD. Now, before I conclude this story, I need to go back to that celebratory night, December 31st, 1924. How special it was in another way. The Jamestown Evening Journal, on January 1st, 1925, reported this: modern invention served to advertise the opening of the hotel by means of the new broadcasting station in Jamestown. The orchestra music and the rest of the program was spread far and wide over the country for the benefit of the radio fans. Those who turned in Jamestown heard the brief speeches better than those in the room. Radio broadcasting in Jamestown began simultaneously with the new hotel on New Year's Eve, 1924. Just a few days before, December 27th, local entrepreneur Archibald E. Newton, Archie, had received U.S. government permission to turn his experimental radio station, 8DIS, into a full-time one, WOCL. We're on Chautauqua Lake. Had there been no hotel, there might have been no radio station, at least not at that time. A newspaper article in the Jamestown Sun years later suggested Newton only expected a temporary license to broadcast the opening of this hotel. Instead, he got and held a full broadcasting license. Newton's transmitter was located in the basement of his house at 840 North Main Street. Following that initial broadcast from this crystal ballroom, Archie had studios all over town. Jamestown Baking at 8th and Main, the Eagles Temple, the Mission Church, possibly others. 12 years after Archie Newton got into the radio business, he got out of it. WOCL was sold to a group of experienced broadcasters from Syracuse. The call letters were changed to WJTN. The transmitter was removed from Newton's basement and established in the swamp off Jones and Gifford Avenue, where it remains today. There is evidence Archie Newton struggled in the radio business, particularly in the 1930s, the time of the Great Depression. The new owners had resources to invest in the station. One of their changes was to bring the radio station back to where it had all started, here in the Hotel Jamestown. WJTN moved into the front section of this, the second floor of the hotel, in the fall of 1939, and remained here until leaving for Orchard Road, the current location, in 1971. It is worth noting that one of the people who came with the Syracuse team was a salesman, a quite successful one. He eventually became manager and later owner of WJTN. His name is worthy of mention, Cy Goldman. Cy led WJTN through its most successful years on the air. His son, Mike, joins us on the panel today. If there is time later, I could share some more radio-related hotel stories with you. But for now, I will just say the obvious. You can't really know where you're going till you have a sense of where you've been. Over its 100 years, the Hotel Jamestown has had days of glory and days of challenge. Joe Gerasi, the executive director of the Housing Authority, has assured me of efforts today to embrace the future in as sound a way as possible. I am now reminded of what Frank O. Anderson, the original developer of this Hotel Jamestown, said that night in December 1924, right after he'd been given a gold watch. His words were, "This is a new home for everyone. It is not only for those from other parts of the nation. It is for Jamestowners, and it shall be our aim at all times to make you welcome as you are tonight." Thank you for the opportunity to give you this brief history of the Hotel Jamestown building, and thank you again for allowing me to be here.